Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the infrastructure bill. They are expecting it to go forth into voting, but I would still be hesitant to proclaim that it's likely to pass even in its new form. It's been shaved down. The new proposal, I guess, is 1.75 trillion. That's down from 3.5 trillion, so it's an improvement. But that's like saying that the turd that you had to eat today was less rotten than the one you had to eat yesterday. It would still cause inflation. It's still pork barrel spending. It's still completely pointless. And any reasonable person would be looking at the economic situation that the U.S. is in and saying now is not the time for a massive new spending plan. Now is the time to trim the government's budget. Now, first and foremost, keep in mind, if you're watching this video on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment down below with links to 4 other video hosting sites that I use. Keep in mind, I make 2 exclusive videos every day on those platforms. They do not actually end up on YouTube. Now, link in the description, archived, of course, first and foremost. Let's go through this. Biden first has problems because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, predominantly in the Senate, they're Democrats, said 3.5 trillion is too much. There's a bunch of stuff in here that we don't want passed. Now, it's interesting because it looks like they have trimmed out the free community college aspect of this, but I'm pretty sure the IRS expansion is still in. So this has gone from a bonanza free-for-all, leftoids, neoliberals, rhino cons like Romney, also involved in negotiating the bill. He'd probably vote for this. He'd vote for 10 trillion in new spending. All of these people basically threw the kitchen sink into the bill, and it bloated and bloated. Initially, it was 6 trillion. Then it was 3.5. Now it's been shaved down considerably, although it's still massive and bloated. When we're saying only 1.7 trillion, don't you think that's a problem? But now, a lot of the leftoid stuff has been shaved out of it. The community college one was one of the more benign aspects of the bill. It's still a bad idea. It still causes inflation. It's going to end up taxing the middle and working class anyway, because to pay for it, if you look at the actual tax restructuring Biden has in mind, it's going to tax the middle class. The wealth tax isn't going to happen. There's not going to be an unrealized gains tax like Yellen wants. That's not going to happen. They'll just adjust the rates upward. This will primarily affect people at the bottom. It's not going to affect Bill Gates. If you don't know the difference between wealth and salaried income, and why it wouldn't affect the super rich very much, and it would affect people that are in the middle and upper middle class, people who are kind of making it disproportionately, then definitely you're not a tax professional. Here's the thing. Now it looks like the infrastructure bill, it's got to bounce back to the House now, might be 2, and there's a fruit fly flying around, it won't leave me alone, might be 2 shaved down. AOC has now come out and said she probably won't vote for the bill in its current form. The problem is the Democrats have such a slim lead in the House, and as far as I know, no Republicans in the House want to vote for such a bill. The problem is you only need a handful of people to go that same way, and it gets defeated in the House. Pelosi's already said she won't even bring it up for a vote if it looks doomed to fail. But she might think, oh, well, I think we have the votes. Not 100% sure. Bring it up and then it gets defeated. That would explode in Biden's face with the force of 1,000 suns, if that happens. I think he's urged Pelosi to be more cautious and strategic than normal. So at first, it was the semi-sane Democrats, again, Manchin, Sinema, people like that holding it up, saying, no, 3.5 is too much, it's too much money. Now it's the leftoids, because and it also takes out some of the Green New Deal horse shit from the bill, some of the environmental regulations. Now that's a big improvement, but I think the biggest things that should have been parsed out, the SEC going after crypto, which doesn't cost a lot because it's just an expansion of their prerogative, but should have been removed, and the IRS expansion, which explicitly is going to be weaponized against regular people. It's not just going to be people making over $400,000 a year, we're going to have more audits. Bullshit. You're not going to attack your donor class. Don't sell me that fucking horse shit. Nobody believes you. Not even the Democrats believe that. They just love bureaucracy. So they're like, oh, more bureaucrats in the tax office? That's a good thing. Yeah, let's hire tens of thousands of new government workers when we already can't pay for the size of the government we already have. To be clear, there should be no compromise here. There should be no infrastructure bill. It's not really about infrastructure. Even the shaved down version, most of the stuff in the bill is not infrastructure related. It's related to, they're trying to have like paternity leave and stuff. Well, you can debate over that, but it's not infrastructure. It has nothing to do with roads and bridges. Buttigieg, why do you think he's on vacation right now? Why do you think he's taking the paternity leave that the Biden admin won't even extend to the regular population? It's because he knows that this bill's a stinker. He doesn't want to be there. Just like Kamala doesn't want to visit the border, the transport secretary doesn't want to talk about the infrastructure bill. He's too busy playing with Legos and shit. I don't blame him. Can you? I'd want to be as far away from the fallout of this administration's blundering as possible, especially when it involves something that was my job description. Borders are, well, the border's fucked, so just disappear when it's brought up. Transport secretary, infrastructure bills, 90% non-infrastructure, and it costs a lot and it'll cause inflation. Just go adopt a couple kids and go on paternity leave. Again, don't blame these people for distancing themselves. They're expecting Biden to croak or resign anyway. They're saying, oh, well, I guess I'll be moving up in the world. Kamala's president, maybe Buttigieg's VP at that point. Wouldn't put it past her. By the way, you can make worse choices from within the Democratic Party. He's probably on the short list for potential candidates in 2024, which should worry the Democrats. When half-assed stands out as really good within your roster, your roster is half-assed. This is hilarious. For months and months things drag on, and they blame Manchin over and over, like he's solely responsible for fiscal planning in the U.S. Senate. He gets his way, and now the left is threatening. So, by the way, are Vox and all these other groups going to try to attack them the way they attacked Manchin? Oh, maybe AOC should be primaried. I seem to recall a lot of articles about Manchin in that context. Probably not, because she's female. So that would be sexist. And she's, I don't know, an ethnicity, so, it would be racist too. It would be ethnocentric and xenophobic. They'll shut up probably about her, which means that she might be able to derail the process and come out smelling like a rose. Meanwhile, Pelosi gets slamma-jammed, Biden gets humiliated, and I hope that happens. I hope she calls it up for a vote and it falls like one vote short because of AOC. I hope that she's self-serving and egotistical enough, by the way, to take that hit just to be in every goddamn newspaper for her next 15 minutes of fame, just so she can go to her office, get wasted, and laugh, just because it would fuck with Joe Biden and the Democrats, the neoliberals, and this is pork barrel spending. If this were genuinely infrastructure, if the majority of this bill were, here's bridge projects that need to be funded, the wall would be infrastructure, if that were in there, where we want to build a highway between Cape Canaveral and Los Angeles because we're crazy, something like that. At least it would be infrastructure. You could bill it that way, and people could say, yes, I do support expanding this infrastructure, rail and road and stuff, or no, I think it's wasteful spending. But when you've buried literally anything under the sun, neoliberal proposals, rhino proposals, just general bootlicking proposals, leftoid proposals, outright commie proposals, regulations and new taxes and tweaks to the fiscal code and investments, most of which won't pay off because that's historically the case, and some infrastructure and some this and some that. When you put it all in one bill, what you're admitting to the American people is that you don't have the gumption to try to get any of those individual components passed, because you don't believe that most of them would pass. So you bury them in a bill with things that sound like they are must-fund systems. Like, well, we must fund this, so we're going to quietly insert a couple of other things in it that we otherwise wouldn't be able to get passed. Because we've got a very narrow lead in the House, we have a 50-50 Senate, in a Senate where most things, unless you use reconciliation, and you got to justify that by the parliamentarian. In some cases, there are actually rules in the Senate. It's not like the House. The House of Representatives is like a college fraternity, basically. The Senate functions more like an actual legislative body. This has historically been the case. It's why the Senate was incepted the way that it was. Trying to get it past, the House and Senate would be difficult or impossible. So you just roll it up into one and then smoke it, then fucking croak and die. That's about all. Peace out.